Hey there, cat fans. Welcome to Meowster Podcast. I'm Rebecca Zish. That's Tim Black.
Hi.
Hi. How are you today, Tim?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little sad.
Oh, yeah?
I'm a little sad because we are about to talk about a book that is the third in a trilogy, which means
Final installment.
it's the last one.
Yeah.
I hope not.
That is, it might not be. It was kind of at the ending, it kind of left it open. It sounded to me like maybe there could be more.
But maybe. We'll see. But what we're talking about is if you're a longtime listener of the show, you know that we have been following a series of books written for kids, sort of like 3rd to 6th grade, what we call middle grade in the library world, about Anton and Cecil, adventuring brother cats, adventuring across North America and through history.
That's true.
By Lisa Martin and Valerie Martin, with illustrations by Kelly Murphy. And we love these books. Yes. We love them so much.
Yeah, we do.
Ugh, I love these books so much.
They're really good.
I'm getting teary just thinking about how much I love these books. This one is, so the first was Anton and Cecil, Cats at Sea, then Anton and Cecil, Cats on Track. And we are now going to talk about Anton and Cecil, Cats Aloft.
Yes. They got to get their way back east.
Yes. So Cats at Sea, they went out into the ocean off the east coast of North America. Cats on Track, they traveled to San Francisco.
All the way across the country.
It's bananas. And then in Cats Aloft, they want to get back.
They want to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't blame them.
Want to go home to Canada. They don't know that's where they're from.
No, they don't.
Because they're cats. And that's one of the things that we love about these books is that everything is truly from their perspective.
It is.
They don't know what country they live in or
how
continent.
far they have to go or how far they've been.
No.
They just know it takes a long time to get there.
And things happen along the way.
Right.
Yeah. This is true adventure fiction. We love it. So this book came out in 2016. We're almost to the end of 2017. We're finally getting to it.
Finally getting around to it. Yes.
We've said we were doing it for a very long time now.
While, yeah.
I know. In any case, in this book, we are in 1893, and the story begins in San Francisco, which is where we left them.
Yeah.
But they very quickly get to Chicago.
Yeah.
And not quickly, but in the first couple of chapters, they decide to leave San Francisco. They leave their friend Hieronymus the mouse. Yeah. He decides he's going to stay there. He's got cousins in San Francisco.
Yep. Good choice.
Yeah. Well, originally, Anton met him on a ghost ship.
Right.
In the Atlantic. This mouse is...
It's miraculous that he met up with...
He's legendary, this mouse. He's legendary in the Mouse Network.
Absolutely.
And so they make their way to Chicago. And we know it's 1893 because they make their way to the Chicago World's Fair, which was actually called the Columbian Exposition of 1893. Now, they do not know they're at the World's Fair.
No, nobody told them.
No, they do learn it's called a fair.
They did.
They do learn that, and they learn a lot of things.
They do. There's a lot to learn.
They learn a lot about humans in this story that they did not know before.
That's true. Yeah.
And they team up with a bloodhound.
They did.
A female bloodhound named Ruby, who is the partner, I guess.
Sidekick.
Yeah.
Mascot.
Of a Chicago police detective. And they investigate a crime. Yeah. Yeah, in the second chapter of the book, they meet Ruby, a bloodhound. She asks them for their help.
Yeah. Well, because cats have great ears. She's got an amazing nose. She needs their ears.
Now, cats have great noses, too.
Right, not bloodhound noses.
Well, I don't know. Who's to say? But yeah, no, she has a pretty amazing nose. Let's see. So it's 1893. Now, one of the great things about these books is that they parallel real human history. And So for Anton and Cecil and Ruby the Bloodhound to be investigating this crime, it's a series of crimes. It's a series. There's been kidnappings of poodle puppies at the World's Fair. So I guess people brought their dogs to the fair, and then there are these guys that have been going around dog napping them.
Yes.
This is parallel to the fact that at the 1893 World's Fair, there was actually a serial killer working the fair. And his name was Herman Webster Mudgett, also known as Dr. Henry Howard Holmes or H.H. Holmes. He was not caught until after the fair was over. He confessed to 27 murders and was actually only convicted of one.
Wow.
But I guess if they had the evidence to build that case for one. But he was hanged for that one murder.
Okay.
While he awaited hanging, though, he was interviewed extensively, especially by the Hearst publishing empire. And so his own words, I mean, as much as newspapers, published people's own words back then, but were well known. And he is a very famous figure in terms of the history of the World's Fair, as well as just, the history of serial killing, which there are many people who are into that sort of thing.
Sure.
But he confessed to 27. They convicted him of one, but it is widely believed that he additionally murdered between 20 and 200 other people.
Wow. Okay.
In fact, he had set up shop for torture and killing.
Okay.
In a hotel that was built.
He built it, right? He had like custom hallways that go nowhere and all kinds of.
Yeah,
I heard about this guy.
Yeah, no, this is, if you watch the History Channel or A&E, like anything where they have shows about freaky real death scenarios.
Yeah,
this guy's a part of it. Yeah, it looked like a hotel. It was never opened as a hotel.
Okay,
historically, it's now known as his murder castle.
Yes, I know all about this.
Yeah. So he would kidnap people from the fair and take them to this place and torture them and, make them. It's awful.
Right.
Make them wait for their death. I think probably get to the point where they were praying, to be put out of their misery, probably.
Yeah.
And when the police found this location, of course, they did not have the forensic evidence necessary to prove which, even if they had blood, they couldn't prove whose blood it was.
Right.
And of course, he had disposed of bodies, but the amount of people that they know went missing from the fair, right?
Yeah.
It seems like, hey, it's 1893 World's Fair. Let's get dressed up with our families and we'll go see. We'll go try cream of wheat, which was one of the things that was debuted there. Well, have you heard about Wrigley's chewing gum? These are all very exciting things. But instead, people were getting kidnapped, like right out of the midway of the World's Fair.
Yeah.
So, or the dog napping that our animal friends are investigating is not nearly so horrific and macabre.
Right.
But this was happening to people. So it's not out of the realm of imagination that it was happening to dogs.
Sure.
And I couldn't find any evidence that was true. I also was curious to know if the detective who's supposed to be Ruby's human, if he was a real person. Because we get his full name in the book, but it doesn't seem like he was a real person. I found a whole list of detectives who were involved in the case, and his name was not one of them. But that could have been cool.
That would have been cool, yeah.
So, I don't really like to talk about murder and torture, but it is interesting that there is definitely, a parallel to some extent of the crime that's being investigated by our main characters and something that really did happen at the World's Fair. In terms of other things that really did happen at the World's Fair that happened in this book is Anton and Cecil ride the world's first Ferris wheel.
Yes, they did.
So that was debuted at the 1893 World's Fair. Mr. Ferris. There's a wonderful, actually, children's book called Mr. Ferris and His Wheel.
Okay.
That's that won quite a few awards when it was published a couple of years ago. It's a nonfiction picture book about his inspiration and what he wanted to build, and then its debut at the World's Fair. So, yeah, first ever Ferris wheel.
I like how the animals in this book, they don't talk to humans, so they don't really fully understand when humans are speaking.
Right.
And so they kind of put their own they call it a Ferris wheel.
A Ferris wheel.
Ferris wheel. I like that.
Yeah.
We kind of, that's the way they hear it.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's in the first book, Hieronymus the mouse who taught Anton that a mirror is a myrrh.
Right. Yeah.
This is a myrrh. Again, this is another one of the things we love about these books is that it's all from the cat's perspective, but part of that is that they do not understand anything that people say.
Right.
And in fact, there was a really, really funny, near the end, a very funny thing when they've actually, because of course they solved a crime, right? They saved the puppies. Like, we're not ruining anything for anyone. You know it's going to happen, right? Anton and Cecil always meet their objectives.
They do.
Right?
Yes.
And at the end of it, like when they're actually escaping with the puppies, when they get to the end, they've tracked down the dog nappers. This woman is running after them and saying, "You too, you were in the show, weren't you?" And she's screaming at them like, "Tell me something. Where is this? Where that? Where are you going?" Right? And Cecil just says to Anton, "Does she think we can understand her?"
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
Just staring at him. What's she saying?
She was asking about her tiger.
Yes, she was asking about her tiger. In this book, so in Cats on Track, they met a mountain lion. In this book, they meet lions and a tiger.
Yes.
That have all been basically imprisoned for the amusement of people.
Right.
And that is an interesting theme in this book. Certainly freedom has been an ongoing theme in the books. Has been. And Anton and Cecil really enjoy their freedom and their ability to travel, and they meet animals that are made pets and tied up, and then they meet animals that are absolutely free.
Yeah.
And sort of a culmination of that in this book is two interesting notions, which is that the puppies have been dog-napped and put in a cage. They're being made to learn to do a circus act.
Yes.
People are making them dance.
Right.
Right? Anton and Cecil are going to have none of this.
No.
We got to save these puppies. But they know that they're going to be returned to their humans. And they'll still be pets.
Right.
But that's a better outcome than having to perform in a circus. But they meet this tiger who yearns to be free. And they devise the craziest plan.
It's insane.
To let her escape, to give her a chance to escape. And it's very exciting.
It
is. Of course, very wacky, as all Anton and Cecil plans turn out to be.
Yes.
But it really, it made me think about, for kids reading these books, that if they've gone all the way through all three books, by the time you get to the end and you see, okay, Anton and Cecil they're going to release the puppies, but the puppies are going to go back
to being pets.
Right. And not being free. But they're not meant to be free. Right?
Like, they have a certain level of freedom. Not as free as Anton and Cecil themselves.
They can't go riding the rails or getting on pirate ships.
But these are puppies. They kind of need their humans.
They need something.
They do. They're not equipped to be free.
No, and yet the tiger needs to be free. And there's also, of course, we as humans have to think, okay, now there's a tiger running loose around Lake Michigan.
Right.
which is scary for people.
Sure.
But, Cecil does worry about that when she approaches him with the idea that he might be able to help her escape.
Yeah.
He says, well, won't they catch you? And she says, if I can get a head start, they'll never catch me.
They'll never see me again.
Yeah, she says, I'll be able to smell them and hear them coming, and they'll never catch me. I don't know if that's true. I mean, we know stories where animals have escaped from zoos.
Sure, they get caught.
Yeah. But I hope she did okay.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It sounded like it from the book.
From the book, they want us to think that she got away.
Yeah.
She did okay. But they also meet some lions that are in cages, very, very small cages, and it's very sad. But they don't ask to be set free.
No. They've kind of resigned themselves to their fate.
Yeah.
Like, this is my life. I work at the circus.
Well, and there are 5 lions, and 4 of them just sit in cages. Only one of them does anything in an act.
Right.
And that made me very sad.
That was sad.
Yeah. And they're not very nice to Anton and Cecil either.
No, they're not.
Is that who calls Cecil an alley cat?
Yes, I believe so.
I really like that part because Ruby has told him that she's a bloodhound, and she tells him that the puppies that have been stolen are poodles. And she says, so there are different kinds of dogs. What kind of cats are you?
Yeah.
They're like, we're just cats.
Right. We don't know.
And then, and then later, I guess it's the lion, or one of the lions calls Cecil an alley cat. And he says, oh, is that what I am? I guess I am a kind of cat after all.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize that that's supposed to be an insult.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's not the lion, Tim.
Oh, no?
It is the Sphinx cat. It is the hairless cat they meet.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Okay,
yes.
Sure. I'd forgotten all about that
yes.
particular encounter.
So the hairless cat who is been brought to the fair every day, Ruby has seen this weird cat and is told, that's why it didn't make sense to me, because Cecil doesn't meet the lions, only Anton meets the lions.
That's true.
So when Anton is sent to try to question the lions to see if they know anything or these particular performing animals, Cecil is sent to an ice, when it has a name. I guess I don't have it written down.
That frozen ride?
Yes, it's an ice.
It's the Matterhorn.
Yeah. But it's a type of roller coaster, like an early version of a roller coaster.
It's like you're
where it's
on
like a
sled.
bobsled.
Yeah.
That just goes through these icy.
Very dangerous.
So they had to bring the ice from somewhere because it is 1893. It's very strange.
Yeah.
But there's this woman who wears a big fur coat and carries around a hairless cat kind of tucked into the folds of her fur coat.
Yes.
And Ruby tells Cecil to go
talk to that cat.
Yeah, see if the cat knows anything.
Yeah.
Because Ruby's tried to talk to the cat and the cat won't talk to Ruby. So Cecil says to this hairless cat, you're a kind of cat, right? And the hairless cat says, of course I'm a cat, just like you. Well, not just like you. I'm part of a pure line descended from the Aztecs, whereas you're a common alley cat. Alley cat? So I am a type after all, Cecil thinks to himself. So, it's the ice railway.
The ice railway.
Yeah. And then that comes up later when Cecil is asked to introduce himself.
Yeah.
He tells somebody that I am an alley cat.
Right. I remember. Yes.
Yes. This hairless cat is just one of many examples in this book in terms of Anton and Cecil learning more about humans. One of the things they learn over and over again is that animals have a name. They'll introduce themselves and then say, but the humans call me.
Right.
And the humans never get their name right. The humans have never guessed. So the hairless cat, her name is Zuma, Z-U-M-A. But the woman in the fur coat, described as the sour woman with thick, bejeweled fingers.
Yes.
Calls her Jelly Bell.
Jelly Bell.
Her name is Zuma, which has a regal air to it. Jelly Bell is just silly. They meet a cat that lives on a ferry on Lake Michigan. And she tells them her name is Kitty, just plain old Kitty.
Right.
But the humans call her Cleopatra.
Yeah.
And this goes on and on and on. I mean, Ruby, the dog, her name is Ruby, but the human calls her like Laneve or something.
Lanez, yeah.
Lanez, that's right. Yeah, it's funny. And it goes both ways. Like the animal might have a fancy name. The humans call them something banal. And sometimes they have just a name like Kitty, but the humans call me Cleopatra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the humans called the tiger, but or no, they called her Tsarina.
They called her Tsarina.
That's right.
But she said the humans call her Tsarina, but her name is Tasha.
Right.
That's probably the closest any human gets to the right name.
Probably.
Yeah. But they meet a horse named Henry. Like that's a nice,
right.
just a nice, straightforward name.
That's a great name for a horse.
You know? Yeah, there's a lot of very cool things. They do meet this group of rats.
Yes, they
in
do.
this story, and those rats crack me up because their dialogue is written as if they're the Bowery Boys or they're all doing a bad Jimmy Cagney impression.
Sure.
They just so these rats, they're a gang of rats that live in an abandoned rail yard, and they are not pleasant. And it's one of the few times that Anton or Cecil has ever encountered unpleasant animals.
Right.
At least on the surface, they're not trying to be aggressive or to stop them from succeeding at their tasks.
Right.
But these rats step right in their way.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
They're thugs.
Oh, yeah. So this whole thing where Anton and Ruby are trying to tell them that they're trying to get to a circus.
Mm-hmm.
And that they have to go through this way. That's the way the smells that Ruby's following. That's the way it's taking them. And they say, through here, eh? Said the small rat in a high nasal voice. That's very unfortunate. You know, that's how I imagine they're talking. And they have names like Sunny and Frankie.
Yes.
Yeah. They are hilarious. Frankie says, he says, what Sunny means is, this is our territory, see? Yeah, they demand payment for passage. Anton's never experienced anything like this.
Yeah, exactly.
And yet he handles it very well. He tricks them. And gets he and Ruby opportunity to safely pass
That's true.
by.
They're not very smart.
No, they are obsessed with food, much like Cecil is obsessed with food.
Yeah.
In fact, I really like how, because they meet animals of all different sizes, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes Cecil is described as being very large, because he is definitely bigger than Anton. But sometimes he's described as being small, because he's just small in comparison to the other thing. When Tasha, the tiger, meets him, she says, like, come closer, little cat. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And yet, at one point, Anton's looking for him, and he describes his brother. He says, like, well, he's a big guy with a lot of fur and a big long tail, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Because
to Anton, he is a big guy. But I think my favorite description of Cecil in this was, so cat's aloft. So they end up on the top of a Ferris wheel.
Yes.
But Cecil also accidentally takes a ride in a hot air balloon in this book.
Right.
And then the hot air balloon, things go badly in the hot air balloon. And it's going to go down. It's going to go down in Lake Michigan.
It's going down.
And the guy who's a cheat and a crook, I think is how Cecil later describes him to Kitty, the cat, the other cat they meet. He's trying to unload weight out of the hot air balloon, and he's throwing everything out that he can. And then he looks at Cecil and he goes, "Sorry, Tubby." And he and he like lurches for him and he's going to try to throw him out of the basket, and Cecil is not going to have it. No, but I've never heard anybody call him Tubby. I mean, I've always thought of him as being like a hefty guy.
Sure.
But a big cat, and so muscular and capable. But the idea that this human just thinks he's fat.
Exactly.
Yeah, Cecil's upset. Cecil saves that guy's life, even though he tried to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
But he ends up...
Indeed.
Cecil has two different adventures in this book where he is nearly killed by a man-made thing, I guess. I don't know what else to say.
A conveyance?
Yeah. Man-made transportation.
Right.
And escapes to the utter amusement of humans.
Right. They think it is hilarious.
Yeah, his life is put in peril. And humans just point and laugh.
Right.
You know?
Look at that cat.
Yeah. So the first time is on the ice thing.
Right.
Which, by the way, I was reading about at the Real Fair in 1893 that was originally designed to be transportation around the fair.
Oh, really?
I have no idea how that would have worked.
Wow.
And instead it turned into an amusement ride.
Okay.
But Cecil gets stuck on it because he can't get his claws into the ice. He can't get any traction. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to get off of the track before it's
coming for him.
The sled comes. Yeah. And it's coming faster and faster as it goes, as it accelerates downhill. Right. The next time he amuses people is when the balloon goes down in Lake Michigan.
Mm-hmm. And the ferry is.
And the ferry throws a buoy out to the human. Mm-hmm. And they don't try to save Cecil.
Yeah.
And so the ferry has this cat that lives on it, Kitty.
Mm-hmm.
And she starts pacing and meowing and trying to get their attention.
Yeah, throw a ring to the cat.
Yes, so all of these people riding on the ferry see him and just start pointing and going like, "Cat! Cat in the water!"
Yeah.
You know. He also gets like huge laughs and rounds of applause when he helps Tasha escape.
It's true.
Because their whole thing is Tasha, the tiger, is going to be able to escape if Cecil can make a big enough distraction.
He does.
At the circus.
Right.
So he just makes an utter fool of himself. And everyone's pointing and laughing. Look at that crazy cat. Mm-hmm. Then Anton shows up and gets in the action.
Right.
Look at those crazy cats out there.
Cecil didn't even know he was there.
I think it's funny in this book because there's so many more humans than there have ever been in either of the first two books.
Right.
That whenever the animals are out doing things together, people just stop and stare. They're like, "What's that bloodhound doing with those two cats?" Right. Ruby takes them to meet a young man who cleans fish for a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
And so that they know where they can go get some food. And this kid's a soft touch, and he'll give them a fish a piece or whatever.
Yeah.
But the first time Ruby takes them there and walks up, he has this whole series of, like a monologue that he's talking to these animals who've walked up to him because he does not understand what's happening here. First Ruby walks up and he's like, "Hey, girl, what are you doing out here?" And then her two friends walk up beside her. He's like, "A bloodhound and two cats." But in the end, that's actually all foreshadowing every time that happens where people say, "What's that dog doing with those two cats?" Or even the police detectives noticing that Ruby's been hanging around with two cats. And they do notice, right? Mm-hmm. But it all pays off at the end when they sort of create a parade of Ruby and Anton and Cecil and all of the puppies, plus a monkey, a spider monkey named Sergio.
Sergio's great.
Yeah, he's an interesting character.
He is.
Because he's also on that tip of he works for humans and he doesn't know what else he would do with himself if he didn't, because he doesn't know how to survive.
Right.
Well, North America isn't his territory.
Exactly.
It's not like he could escape and there would be things for him to eat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I guess he eats fruit and stuff, but
there wouldn't be an environment that he could disappear into.
No.
Right.
Not like Tasha disappearing into the wilds of Michigan. If she could have gotten out of Chicago, she probably would have been fine.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Especially in 1893, right?
Yeah.
I want to think that she was okay.
I want to think so, too.
Yeah. But, yeah, it is amusing, all these humans who just keep shouting at them. They don't know what they're saying.
Yeah.
They were terribly amused by these animals walking around, doing things. And yet, Anton especially is so irritated that the humans don't know what they know.
Right.
Because with their excellent hearing and smelling, they have solved the series of dog nappings long before the humans have.
Absolutely.
And Anton doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to communicate with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very frustrating for him, especially. Ruby's used to it. She tries to explain to him, well, right now, all they know is this, right? Especially when there's an earlier moment where they save one puppy first before they save all of the puppies. And that's Ruby and Anton. And Ruby picks up this basket, and they know the puppy's inside the basket, but they can't get the latch open.
Right.
And so she picks up the basket, and they carry it all the way to the house of the detective that she works with.
That's pretty great, because he's talking to that dog's human.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know. I just looked down, and he was gone.
And I'm so distraught. What will I ever do without my puppy?
Right. And then Ruby's trying to get his attention. Hey, I've got him right here.
Yeah.
Like, not now. I'm talking to this lady.
He keeps saying, and I'm so sorry for my rude dog. Right? He says, because Ruby's trying to be polite.
Yes.
And she's always trying to be polite to everyone. She even tries to be polite to the rats. She says, excuse me, gentlemen, we'd like to come through here. But they go up to the house and Ruby she goes like, woof. So she does some polite, low woofing. Woof, woof. And and the guy's like, Ruby, get away. We're busy here. And so Anton.
Not now, Linez, he said, waving his hand and frowning slightly. I'm busy here.
Yeah. Anton starts circling this basket that the puppy's inside, and he rubs his head against the latch. He's trying to get the human to look at a thing. He's like, if I rub my head here.
The lady's like, I think he's trying to tell you something.
Yeah. Yeah. They finally open it up and then it's all good.
Yeah. And then when he sees that basket that the puppy is in, he's asking all these questions. Now, what is it, Linez? Asked Morgan, stopping in front of the big dog. Where did you find this fishing basket? I wish he'd just open it, for goodness sake, she murmured to Anton. Just
stop asking me. I can't answer you anyway.
Right.
Anton and Cecil have a couple of encounters with birds that are very funny in this. And I think that's part of the Aloft idea, because they talk a lot about flying in this book, and they've never considered flying before.
Right.
But they talk to these birds. First off, on their way to Chicago, they actually end up in a boxcar with some carrier pigeons.
Yeah.
And these carrier pigeons are jerks. Right? Anton and Cecil try to tell them that they're adventuring cats, that they're traveling cats. And these pigeons are like, ugh, we've done more traveling than you, because they're carrier pigeons, and they say, our job is to carry messages back and forth. And Cecil tries to tell them, that's not traveling. That's just doing what people want you to do, right? So that's an interesting idea where these pigeons believe that they're free to travel, free to roam.
Right.
But they're really actually doing the bidding of humans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, she says, one of the pigeons stamped her clawed foot. The train only takes us where we are needed. On the return, we fly freely in the sky. We could leave at any time we choose. Could you? Asked Cecil, sitting up and gazing at the pigeon curiously. Could you go against your instincts and veer off the path? Cecil, stop torturing them, said Anton. But Cecil wants to torture birds, Yes. He can't get his paws into the cages. And so so he's not going to hurt them physically.
Right. Yeah.
But it drives him crazy that they're in this boxcar with all these pigeons. So he like sits and stares at them and he gets into arguments with them. But the next time they meet some birds in this book is when they're on the Ferris wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And those birds were jerks too.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, on page 104, Cecil and Anton are riding the Ferris wheel to try to get a bird's eye view, they say, of the fair.
Mm-hmm.
So as the Ferris wheel is going higher and higher, at the same time, two birds fluttered by overhead and landed on top of the passenger box just above the cats. They were unusually large, one more plump than the other, with eye-catching blue and yellow feathers, fringed tails, and long pointed beaks.
Oh, that's right. They are macaws.
So they are macaws,
Yes.
and it's not very clear where
See
they.
the picture of them.
Yeah, it's not very clear where they came from, but it seems to me that they would have escaped from someplace
Mm-hmm.
because macaws don't live in the wild in Chicago.
My understanding of it as I was reading it was that they were on some island that was part of the fair. They were it was like an exotic birds sanctuary sort of display where they and other animals hung out on this island.
Oh, right. Oh, it says right here. Then one of the birds says, if they really want us to stay put on that dismal island so that people can gawk at us all day, they should stock the lagoon with better fish.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And then the other bird says, oh, quit complaining. The parrots are stuck in cages. So that'd be a whole lot worse.
Yes.
But this is driving Cecil crazy. Anton says to him, don't even look at them. Stay focused on our job.
Right.
But Cecil was distracted, right? So they try to talk to the birds about the dogs, about the missing puppies. And it's not very helpful.
No.
So Cecil gets very upset. And so it says, Cecil stepped to the edge of the roof. That's the box there on top of.
Right.
Way up in the sky.
Yes.
And hissed at the birds. Just as Anton opened his mouth to warn him off, the wheel ground into motion again, this time without stopping. In a sweeping arc, the boxes were carried over the top of the circle and down to the other side. And the birds sent a steady stream of taunts at the cats. So they say things like, you tough guys gonna fly and get us or what? And the other one says, hey, fat cat, stuck on a hot tin roof. Says, gonna use up some lives getting out of this one. So Anton is saying, ignore them, Cecil. And Cecil says, I can't endure insults from birds.
Right.
And so Cecil, he's not going to let them just talk about him like that, especially call him fat.
Right.
I don't think he's okay with that at all.
Especially since one of the birds is fat.
Yeah, it's a fat bird and a thin bird, and they're calling Cecil fat. This is before the criminal calls him Tubby.
Right, it was.
So, but so both of these interactions with birds are just torture for Cecil. And the birds are jerks.
Yeah.
And again, I think this is because the book is from the viewpoint of cats.
I think so too. I think you're right.
Birds are big jerks.
Yes, it could have been written anyway. And it's always kind of been like that. They never really got along with birds very well.
Oh, no. No, the owl, Athena the owl in Cats on Track is terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
She's not a jerk. She's just scary. She's like a slasher killer in a horror film, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the very first one, like right at the very beginning of the book, a bird asks them, we're looking for, is there someone around here named Seasick? Are you Anton and Seasick?
No, it's oh no, I can't remember because it's not Anton
it's not
and Seasick.
Anton.
They get
It's
both of their
somebody in
names
Seasick.
wrong.
Right.
I thought those were mice that asked them that.
Oh, I thought it was a bird.
I don't know, but I know that at the beginning of this book, at the beginning of Cats Aloft, when they meet some mice from the Mouse Network,
right.
They're impressed that they say their names correctly.
Right,
They're like, well, at least they got our names right.
Yeah. Because that was a running gag in the first and second book.
Yeah. People get their names wrong all the time. Yeah, actually, Cecil later, when they're talking about meeting those macaws on the Ferris wheel, Cecil actually says that they were wacky birds making stuff up. As if that's just something we know. Like, oh yeah, birds are always going around making stuff up. They're wacky. I like they called them wacky.
That's good.
I just love the descriptions in these books. When the detective is described to us, when they meet Ruby, her person, the detective, is described as a short man in a tall hat with a walking stick.
Yes.
That's all we needed to know.
That is all you need to know.
They actually help out quite quickly after meeting Ruby with catching a burglar. And this burglar is described as having a black stick in his mouth.
Right.
And I always love that cat perspective. It's a pipe.
Right. Yes.
But they don't know what a pipe is.
Right.
Just this guy walking around with a black stick in his mouth.
Right.
Yeah. There were some women described in this book as having elaborate hats.
Very nice.
No, it's just so clear. Mm-hmm. So unlike the other books, Cats Aloft begins with a bracketing of the story. Mm-hmm. So in the first chapter, it actually begins with the kittens back in Lunenberg asking for Kitty to tell them a story. Now, when I read this book twice now, and the first time I was like, wait, who's Kitty?
Yes.
That's not their mother.
No.
Right? Because I can't remember their mother's name now.
I don't remember either.
Yeah. But I thought, I don't know who that cat is. I thought, well, maybe we're just supposed to think that the tales of their adventures have traveled so far that cats tell them everywhere now. Because it's this two kittens flop down and they say, tell us a story, Kitty. And the kittens' names are Sophie and Mo. Yeah. We don't know Sophie and Mo. No. We don't know Kitty. Right. But she starts to tell them the story, one of the stories of Cecil and Anton. And she says, the story begins with an ending. And then we go into them being in San Francisco, and that was the end of the previous story. Right. Then, if you're paying attention, about halfway through the book, Cecil meets Kitty on the ferry. And if you're paying attention, you'll know, wait, so Kitty learns all about their stories. So maybe these are kittens she went on to have. But near the end of the book, she actually decides to go with them. Yes. And she leaves with them and she goes to Lunenberg with them to have a different sort of life than as a fairy cat. Right. Because the way that they've described their life in Canada just sounds so appealing. Right. Yeah. And she's like, I want to go too. And also she wants to travel. Yeah. She's like, I've been traveling on this ferry, but all we do is go back and forth to the same places and shuttle people back and forth. So it's not really traveling. So again, she's a cat who's had adventures on alternative transportation, right? You know, on a boat, which cats aren't usually on. Right. But not with any freedom, not with the ability to make her own choices about where she goes. Yeah. She just goes back and forth with the people. So she makes the choice to leave with them and to get on the train and then the ferry to get back to where they're from in Lunenberg. And then the very last chapter is actually Kitty telling her story again. So it's the closing
up the
brackets.
Book that we just read. Yeah.
Right. Closing brackets. And it made me believe that Mo and Sophie might be the kittens of Kitty and Cecil. Okay. Did you get that impression?
Yeah, I thought that might be the case.
Yeah. Or they're just other kittens on the dock.
That could be too.
And she's known as a good storyteller.
That could be too. They both sound equally viable.
Yeah. Because they certainly, Cecil and Anton's mother just keeps having babies because there's always kittens at the dock. Oh, I guess other cats must have babies too. But the way the stories are told, it seems like their mother is the main female cat at the dock and the one who is.
This also has me wondering if the next series of books is going to be Kitty and her travels.
Well, or Kitty going with them.
Right. Anton, Cecil, and Kitty.
I think they would still be Anton and Cecil books, wouldn't they?
I don't
She
know.
would just be there too.
Or maybe maybe it'd be Kitty and the Kittens.
Remember how I thought in Cats on Track that one kitten brother of theirs was going to end up on the train with them? And I was like, no, too much peril. We don't need a tiny baby kitten on a train.
Right.
I was so worried when I first started that book. I was like, don't let the kitten get on the train. I have a hard enough time when Cecil finds himself in these terrible situations. I get so nervous. Like, Cecil just...
no shortage of that in this book either.
Oh, well, and I loved when Cecil got himself into this basket.
Right.
And locked into the basket because he smelled of an old bone in there.
Right.
And Ruby walks in and Anton's trying to get this basket open. He's like, Cecil is in there. And there was some kind of, I don't know, what do you put over people's mouths to make chloroform?
Yeah.
So there was chloroform in the basket. And that's how they were keeping the puppies quiet when they were dog napping them. So Cecil's passed out. He's a tubby old cat. Passed out in a basket. Anton, his little brother, is trying to can't get a latch open. He can't knock it over.
They haven't
he
met
can't
Sergio
wake up his
yet.
brother. No, they hadn't met Sergio yet. That's true because he has hands. He could have opened it. But Ruby comes in, and her reaction is, well, I've just left you guys for like 10 seconds. How does he...
What
and
did you do?
And Anton just says, you don't know my brother. It's like, but we've read these books. We know Cecil. We know how quickly, if he smells food.
Forget it.
Oh, my God. In fact, before they even get to Chicago, Anton loses Cecil at, they've been waiting like 2 days in this town for the right train to come through. And when the train finally comes, he's like, oh, the train's here. Whoa, where's Cecil, right?
Right.
And he was in a saloon with red sauce on his face eating. And I thought, are they in St. Louis? Is he eating barbecue? On their way to Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis, someplace. Yeah. It's the land of barbecue, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's what we were supposed to
might
think.
have been.
Yeah. So you said that you think that there's some stuff here in these last couple of pages that make you think that they might go on more adventures. They have said this is the last book.
Yeah. Well, that's why, I mean, as far as the Anton and Cecil books.
Yeah. That's why you think there might be more of Kitty?
Kitty books.
Their name is so boring. Well, the clues that I found.
Yeah.
Kitty says that there are other places to go unthought of by Anton and Cecil.
Oh, yeah, they talked about going under the ocean and all that kind of stuff.
Well, Cecil says, I hear the moon is made of green cheese.
The moon.
Maybe we could go up there and check it out. We'd have to fly. And Kitty says, I've been thinking that instead of catching fish from the top of the water, we should find a way to go down to the bottom, since that's obviously where they all live. Mm-hmm. In some kind of underwater boat, Cecil asked. It would have to be sealed up tight. Yep. So, Anton and Cecil, 20,000 leagues under the sea. Look, a Jules Verne thing, no matter, right?
Absolutely.
But this is the right time in history for there to be some sort of Jules Verne adventure.
Sure.
Certainly.
They were close enough with the balloon.
Yeah. I think it's possible they could go in a submarine. I have one final thing to tell you. I don't know if you know about this.
Okay.
So in the story, they're at the World's Fair along Lake Michigan.
Yes.
And then they go to a circus
yes.
along Lake Michigan. Well, in actual fact, in history, Buffalo Bill Cody and his Wild West show were not invited to the 1893 World's Fair, Columbian Exposition. And so they, down the way on Lake Michigan, got a piece of property and set up their circus.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I believe that's what we're supposed to think is happening there.
Right, that's Wild Bill Cody's.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
So
in reality, in history, there was a circus set up just down the way. Like, I don't know, maybe several miles down the way. But
that's walking distance.
I don't know about walking distance, but horse and buggy distance, definitely.
All right.
Because remember how to get there, Ruby and Anton had to go through a city. So they actually had to go through Chicago.
Yeah, that's true.
Which was very scary for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So they had to go through Chicago, come through those old rail yards, and then into, there was like some empty space until they finally smelled the circus.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, 30 miles, 40 miles? I mean, that's a long way for them to go, but
yeah.
I don't know, 5 miles, let's say. I don't know. But they had to go through Chicago to get there in the story.
I know it was, it was a long walking distance, but they definitely walked it. But
in a day.
Yeah.
So I'm exaggerating when I say 30 miles. You can't make a dog and a cat walk 30 miles in one day.
Maybe 10.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows? But I think that when Ruby gets her nose going, or bloodhounding happening,
it's just
she doesn't even know how far she's going.
In the zone.
She's just following her nose.
I like how they describe the people riding bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anton, and that he saw a contraption with a person on it.
Yeah.
And then on the next street, he saw the same contraption, but with two people on it.
Right.
Yeah.
About that circus, something happened at that circus that had me very worried about. There was a fire at that circus. And at that time in U.S. history, circus fires were kind of common.
Yeah.
And kind of tragic. The great Charles Nelson Riley survived a circus fire when he was a kid in Connecticut.
Huh.
Yeah. But yeah, that made me, I'm glad to hear that nobody, it seems like they were able to get it under control pretty quick.
Yeah. Did I tell you about the fire at the circus?
No. What fire at what circus?
It was intense.
Oh my gosh.
That's one of my favorite jokes ever.
Wow.
Okay. I've never told you that joke before.
I don't think so.
That was a perfect time to tell it.
It is. That was perfect.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice job.
That rarely ever happens.
To have a golden opportunity
An
like
actual opening.
Just handed to you. It wasn't set up at all.
No, you had no idea what I was saying just then. You were like, no, what? That's very satisfying.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Well, I'm going to miss Anton and Cecil.
Me too.
I mean, maybe we can pray for more books. We can ask the authors to write more books. But we have these three.
It's a trilogy. It's a nice package.
If this is the first time you're hearing us talk about them, please go and read them.
Check them all out.
Yeah, you'll enjoy them. Yes, they were written for children, and if you have children to give them to, you should buy all three now and just give them as a set. Or if you have children who you read, you share stories with at night, you read bedtime stories too. These are great adventure books to read to kids. And we hope that everyone will adore them the way that we do and just come to feel like Anton and Cecil are just part of your world, part of the world you live in.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And stay out of circus fires.
A lot of regulations were put in place and things were changed to prevent those from happening. They did not have it figured out at that time.
They didn't have.
We'll set up a tent. We'll light fires and have lions jump through them. Whatever, it'll be fire. And
they didn't have fires figured out at all. They didn't have push bar exit doors in buildings. So, yeah.
I mean, you look at what Tasha had to go through to escape.
Yeah.
That was. Everybody in there was kind of locked in there like that. So
which just brings us back to, I mean, this has been one of the main themes of all of the entire trilogy, which is about freedom versus captivity.
Yeah.
And it's again, if you're going to read these books yourself, you're going to share them with children. It's an important theme to explore.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do it with the joy and abandon that Cecil has for travel and eating, and do it with the thoughtfulness of Mr. Anton, then you've really done something, I think. And definitely, let's say that Valerie and Lisa Martin have really achieved something with this series of books.
For sure.
So kudos to them.
Yes.
Congratulations on 3 wonderful books.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, go play with your cats.
Go play with your cats.